May you find happiness and peace, and may your home stand the test of time.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary. Today I'll be reacting to a video from Ben Shapiro. Today's video is titled New Conservative Douglas Morris on Islam and Immigration in Europe. So without further ado, let's get started.
My guest tonight is a neoconservative writer who's in the country for the Australian Think Inc. event Polarised alongside Dr. Cornel West. His book is The Strange Death of Europe, Immigration, Identity, Islam.
We do have a problem. We have a problem when the failures of Islam throughout the world, the failures of all Islamic societies come here into Britain. Their intolerance of freedom of conscience, their intolerance of apostates, their intolerance of freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
Truth is, the great disappointment of the last 14 years has been that civil society has failed, that we can't do the things to the Islamists that we would do, as I referred to the neo-Nazis.
Please welcome Douglas Murray, everybody. Hello. Welcome, Douglas. Thanks for coming on the show. I know you're very concerned about Western civilization. This show is technically part of the Western canon. Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah, the decline in a nutshell.
Well, that's a show. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it very much. Just need to make a disclaimer at the top. Myself and the executive producer of this program, Dan Illich, are involved in your tour with Dr. Cornel West in the country. That was separate to the decision to book you on the show. We haven't been bribed into having a neoconservative on the ABC, but I need to put that out there. If people aren't familiar with your work, what is this strange death of Europe that you refer to?
Well, for many years I've travelled as a reporter, as a journalist across the Third World and Middle East, Africa, many of the war zones of these areas, seen many of the places where people are fleeing from. And in 2015, I was reporting from across my continent, across Europe, when people were coming in unprecedented numbers. We were talking about the German population taking in an additional 2% in a single year alone, where basically the German Chancellor said anyone who makes it to Europe can come. And I saw all of this firsthand, and I realized that there was a catastrophe in the making, a catastrophe which I think has already started to unfurl in the years since. I realized this is just a version of a problem that every country is having to think about. And we're very lucky countries, yours and mine. We're countries that people want to come to. And that isn't an easy thing to deal with, because we know that we cannot take in the world, and yet we can't have the conversation about what we can do. And I thought that we need to think about this much more deeply than we are.
The political consequences of that decision sort of flowing through Germany and affecting Angela Merkel. Some changes seem to be happening. They're trying to get more agreements with North African countries and looking at trying to return some people to where they came from.
Bribed Turkey.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, we already know some of the consequences. German elections saw a party that's generally described as far-right, the AfD, is now the main party of opposition in the German parliament. Unbelievable social problems, unbelievable problems with freedom of expression. I mean, another data law just came in at the beginning of this year that tries to stop German citizens saying very critical things about their government on social media. And I just, you know, who could predict any problem from, for instance, suppressing the rage of the German people? Who could foresee any downside to that, you know?
Not me. All good. OK. What do you think should happen now to address this situation?
Look, I just, as I say, we have to think about this much more seriously and deeply than we've been thinking about it. A lot of people make a lot of very easy social capital, including a lot of politicians make very easy social capital by basically saying, we're generous, we're open, let them come. They quote John Lennon quite often. And this is cheap and too easy, and it's not up to the task in hand. We have to be able to think about the speed of immigration, the type of immigration we do want, and that means the type of immigration that we just don't need more of. These are really ugly and difficult conversations to have, but it's my belief that if we don't have them, other people will have them, and very bad people will have them. I'm not willing to hand that terrain over. I'm just not willing to do it.
That ugliness is certainly something we're wrestling with in this country. We always have with immigration in Australia, and now our population has hit 25 million people. Some people are concerned solely by the numbers of immigration that we have, others by the makeup of that immigration. Sure. Some are concerned by both. You talk about how London is a minority white city at the moment. Yeah. It's currently reached that point. In the future, there are predictions that the UK and America will become minority white countries. And I guess when I hear those phrases or those concerns, or when I hear people say phrases like, this part of Sydney doesn't look like how Australia is supposed to look, that makes me feel very nervous.
Yeah, rightly,
it makes me wonder, what are these countries supposed to look like and who gets to decide that?
Sure. Well, it should be decided by governments which should be accountable to the people. And if the people want such a change to happen, then you can do it. The problem I identify across Europe is that it happens in the face of public hopes and public desire, where the politicians end up berating the public rather than trying to listen to them or trying to answer them. And this, again, is a problem that is just exploding everywhere. Look at Italy is one of the founding members of the EU. It's a massively important economy in Europe. And the public there are so angry that they just voted into a government, a party, again, that is generally described as far-right, the League, and a party founded by a comedian, the Five Star Movement, which literally doesn't know what it wants to do. It is a protest vote that has become government, OK? I mean, you can say all sorts of things and make a lot of jokes about Italian politics, but it literally being run by comedians is
Sounds fucking awesome, I gotta say.
you should look into this as a career move.
Would anyone vote for me? Well, that was reluctant. What about the way these conversations and the way they affect immigrants who are already here? We could close the borders tomorrow and let nobody in left. There is a huge immigrant population in Australia. The phrase, a country built by immigrants is regularly used since the White Australia policy thing, since we wrapped that up.
It depends what you mean by immigrants in Australia. I mean,
sure.
What do you mean when you say that?
Immigrants, people who have immigrated post the White Australia policy. I think certainly that's a big part of it, of what we make up the immigrant population. But indeed,
because it's an important question. I mean, is somebody an immigrant once they become a citizen? I'd say not.
They cease to be an immigrant.
They cease to be an immigrant. Once you're a citizen, you're not an immigrant anymore.
Right.
You're an Australian.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty of citizens, people who are born and raised from, say, the Sudanese community in Australia. There's a lot of focus on that particular immigrant community in Melbourne at the moment.
Because of the home invasion.
There are some issues surrounding the overrepresentation of that community in crime statistics. Yeah. This video went a little bit viral on Vice Australia last week. This is some Sudanese youth recounting some of the feedback and some of the conversation that's happening online at the moment when it comes to their community.
What more do you want? You people in Canberra, this is our country. Please send them back. They don't deserve to be here, and they are used to fighting and destroying other people's businesses, lives, and homes. For God's sake, can't you see what is happening? We will be taken over by them, and that is for sure. You are a bunch of idiots if you don't see this happening. I say concealed firearms should be considered in Australia. If they're that much of a danger, they should be shot.
I mean, how do we have this conversation without that kind of shit happening?
Well, look, that's just a risk you're going to have to take, isn't it? Because the alternative is you shut everyone up, which isn't going to work. You're not going to be able to tell people don't speak about things, because they may not speak about things, but they'll keep thinking things. And it's much better that you know what they're thinking than that everyone hides it from you. It's going to be a lot better in the long term. But this points exactly to the centre of a conundrum, which is there are specific issues that specific communities bring, undoubtedly. There are specific benefits that the communities bring, undoubtedly, and specific downsides. One thing which I've seen this throughout Europe. If, for instance, people flee a specific war zone, for instance, Somalia, speak to anyone who's fled Somalia in recent years. They have seen things that you can't imagine. Now, it's very likely these people also are going to have a different attitude toward violence as a result. And we have seen this in gangs in London in recent years. A Somali gang moves into an area and they are willing to do things that other gangs won't do, and that causes a rise in violence, gang to gang to gang. Okay. That doesn't mean you don't invite any Somalis. It doesn't mean you don't have any asylum policy. But, you're a damn fool if you're not going to think about that and find some way to address it, because otherwise you leave it to people to start gestating and becoming vile and becoming angry against everybody. So, this is the central stupidity of the assumption of multiculturalists who believe in that not as an idea, but as a policy, that you make things multicultural. The central problem they keep on coming to is this. They think in a diverse society we should hear less views. We should clamp down on views. Look, the more diverse your society, the more views you're going to have to hear. Get used to it. And some of that's going to be really ugly and unpleasant. Well, as I say, what are your alternatives? Because shutting up cannot be one of them.
Well, if you'd like to catch Douglas Murray and hear more of his views, you can catch him and Dr. Corner West in Melbourne tomorrow, Sydney on Wednesday, and in Brisbane on August 19th. Thanks very much for being here. Please thank him, Douglas Murray, everybody.
Wow. I wish this video was a bit longer, but this is actually my first time listening to Douglas, like, watching this video. I've been hearing his name, Douglas Murray. And to me, I see him as a brilliant man, him saying it is better to allow people to talk than let them harbor things in their mind, because, the mind is big and is desperately wicked. If you don't know what people are thinking, you can't fix their issue. You can't, you can't be able to detect, okay, this is what these people are going through. But the more they speak, the more you get close to them. You understand them, you understand their feelings, you understand where they are coming from. And I think I love that when he made that statement. And aside from that, towards the beginning, when he spoke about freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to do whatever you want to do, like, you just have that freedom. I felt like, yeah, this is the American dream. American is a place whereby everyone is allowed to say whatever they want to do, practice whatever religion they want to practice. Like, no one is there to speak for you or prevent you from doing anything. As long as you have your rights to do it, you're free to do it. And that is just like a statement he made that got to me. I felt like, yes, this is he's truly an American. Like, he speaks like one. And aside from that, based on this discussion, the immigration, high rate of immigration and all, I feel what you're saying is absolutely right, because I can't speak for every other country out there concerning immigration, but I can speak for, Ghana, because I've been here for, like, let's say, going to like 10 years. And I can speak for Nigeria because at least I was born there. The high rate at which we travel out of the shell of Africa is alarming. You see, we all want to look for greener pasture. And I get your point. The thing is, if we are getting it good here in Africa, I don't think we'll have any reason to look for greener pasture outside the shell of Africa. So, but I still get what Douglas is saying. The fact that American is open to everyone, coming in, so long as you are legally allowed to stay, is good though. But it's bad side, because the country is becoming overpopulated. I know people will say the more populated your country is, the more people, like, you get people that are willing to work, cheap labor. You get more brilliant mind, coming into your country. But how do you differentiate that this person is here to work and this person is here to commit, harm? Because the more the population, the more harm, the more, chaos. So the best thing, the lower the population, the lower chaos. So I don't know how you're able to manage it. And I think that is what people are complaining about. They feel like, where is the limit? Who do we take? Who do we not take? Like, because if you make everything easy for people to get, they end up don't put in the work, because they feel like when they apply for visa, they'll get it. Or when they jump the border, you later take them in. I know, like, that is it. And I think Douglas is trying to look for the middle ground. Okay, let's do it this way, so that it will work for everybody. And we all need to talk to our leaders, because American cannot keep on taking people forever. If people are coming to America, it's because American are putting the work. So instead of us running away, I think the best thing for us to do is to stay and fix our country. I don't know, that is why I've not really had the urge to travel out of the shell of Africa, because I feel like whatever I can benefit outside there, I can also benefit in Africa. It might take time, but we'll definitely get there. So if you're an African, or you're an immigrant from any part of the world, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, try and find a way to fix your country. Okay? Try and, if it's the little thing that counts, the little contribution you make, the little people you talk to, the little effort, it counts in the long run, to putting things in place. I know sometimes tourists want to come to Africa to, witness Africa. They've been hearing about Africa. They want to come and see us. I'm into videography, so most times I go out there, I shoot people that they've not actually seen Africa in person. They've been hearing things about Africa, and when they come here, some of them end up crying because of, sometimes what the media feed you is not really what is happening. And that is it. So the thing is, let's try and make our home good so that people would come. Even if they are not coming to stay permanently, at least they can come and pay us, visits. And it will help us in the long run because, they are patronizing our airline, they are patronizing our cities, patronizing our hotel, patronizing our restaurant. It's building our economy. Anyway, this is a beautiful one. Let me know what you think in the comment section. It is your first time visiting the channel. Click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching and remember bless.